To you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Wrestling with Johners, episode 341, our second interview of 2024, and we got an awesome guest for a weekday evening, none other than the Jurassic Pro Wrestling Indominus Champion, the Playmaker Tommy Lawrence. Tommy Lawrence, great to have you on the show. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, my man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're very welcome.
Honestly.
You're very welcome.
You've been killing it with these guests lately, so it's been great. So it's great to be here.
Been super blessed over the last few years. Had some big names on, really shining a light on British independent wrestling, which is my passion. And I can't wait over the next hour and 15, however long we go, to take a deep dive into your career, your passion, and your love for pro wrestling. But if you are watching this live and you want to get in touch with the show, then please do so. Ping us your questions through to us using your chosen device, and we do our very best during the course of the interview to bring every single question up for the Playmaker during the course of this interview. But before we take a deep dive with Tommy, just a quick reminder of some of my recent guests. And of course, we're looking back at some of my December 2023 guests now, and former Progress Women's World Champion Lana Austin was on the show in December, as well as part 1 and part 2 of my Legends Masterclass interview, episode 7 of my Legends Masterclass series with none other than British wrestling legend Johnny Saint, of course. My most recent live interview was only 3 or 4 days ago, last Friday, with one half of the WrestleForce Tag Team Champions, Brandon Lee, from ASW South, the training school ran and owned by Joel Redmond. But Brandon Lee's got a very, very bright future. Go and check that one out. Go and check out my YouTube channel. Check out my interview with Brandon Lee, or whatever audio platform you tend to listen to this podcast on. Give us your love and support. And my very next live interview after Tommy Lawrence is Miles Kamen. Miles Kamen, the current BWR Cruiserweight champion, will be joining me next Wednesday, the 17th. So January is really, really rocking. And then after Miles, I've got 2 more guests to round out the month on the 23rd. I've got the deadly one herself, Nightshade, multiple champion all over the UK, Europe, and the world. Nightshade is truly worldwide. And then, of course, Axel Carter will be joining me on the 30th of January. But today, it's all about this guy here, looking good, even better with the gold over his shoulder, the Jurassic Pro Indominus Champion. But Tommy, I've worked with you a few times in 2023, and it's been a pleasure working with you, getting to know you, interviewing you backstage and 1 or 2 other things. But 2023 in a nutshell was a pretty neat year for you, let's be honest. And so you had some of the most wonderful matches of your career, some of the biggest opponents, some of the best opportunities, some wonderful storylines, and some success along the way as well. But in a nutshell, if you were to sum up your 2023, tell us what 2023 like was for you.
You know what? I think for me, 2023 for me was a big year for me. I think it's definitely been a huge improvement and a big step up for sure. There was a lot of opportunities that I just had to take, and there was just some I just wasn't expecting at all. But I think for me, I think it's all down to how much hard work I've dedicated myself to owning my own craft as a professional wrestler, and I want to make sure I keep that going forward into 2024. Honestly, I think I aim to make this year very big for me, and I really want to make sure that everybody remembers the name Tommy Lawrence. And
100%. And kind of heading into the new year, like I say, we're the 9th of January, so we've barely scratched the surface of 2024. But where's your mind at? Where's your kind of mindset at regarding how you want to tackle 2024 and the next 12 months ahead, Tommy?
I think I want to make sure I get to new places, collect some gold around my waist, whether on my shoulders, depending on how many I collect. So I for one, I just aim to face off against the best.
Yeah.
And make my claim as one of the best, not only as one of the best up and comers, but just one of the best professional wrestlers in the country. And I believe in myself. I believe I have the talent and hard work to do that. And I think I can. You know, fuck thinking. I think I just know that I've got it in me to get myself out there. I've been in the ring with some of the very best already for the past couple of years in 2022 and 2023, and I've proven that I can hold myself very well against the very best. I've beaten some of the very best as well. So.
Yeah, 100%. And over the last 12 months, like I say, I think 2023 was a real pivotal year for you in your career. And like I say, some wonderful moments and highlights, which we will talk about during the course of this interview. But how have you seen Tommy Lawrence grow in the last 12 months? What do you think have been some of your main turning points or some of your main growth areas and development in the last 12 months compared to, say, if we were talking 12 months ago to now, how would you say you've grown in that time?
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think my mind compared to now, back then, like compared to now, it's very different. You know, I think this is when I was still kind of like, you know, I think 2021 was still kind of like a good beginning stage for me. And I think I was still kind of like, you know, still getting into new places, still getting my name out there kind of thing. I think. And I think 2023 was a big step for that. And I think I've just been kind of, you know, trying to stay as consistent as possible when it comes to like, like just being busy. I think for me, I just wanted to make sure there were no gaps in dates for whenever I got more shows, regardless if I'm hurt or not. You know, I think I'm willing to, like, you know, fight through the pain. I want to make sure I get as busy as possible. I want to make sure that, you know, the boom keeps going, and I want to keep rising as much as possible. And I think some of my pivotal moments was kind of the start of 2023 as well, when I faced off against Spike Trevay and Bullet, and it was me and KM Lane, and I think that was also the first ever. That's the first time me and Kia have ever tagged together as well, and that was somewhat kind of like the first ever Bounty Hunters match, really. And I feel like that match in particular kind of set the tone for what me and Kia were preparing. I think. Just not only as a tag, but just us as a singles as well. Like,
yeah.
I think the match between me and KM Lane as well. I think it definitely got a lot of attention as well, because I think even to this day, I'm still getting people talking to me about that match in particular, how it's their favorite match from that show as well, considering it was quite a stacked card as well. And like for me to hear that from not just from like hardcore fans, even like non-wrestling fans as well, which that meant a lot to me, because it just shows that, like, you know, like I think it just shows how much hard work we put into that match with little time to prepare as well.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was running quite late. There was a lot of traffic. It was raining heavily as well. I wasn't so sure if I was going to make the show on time as well. And like, so I think it was a kind of so me and Kia kind of basically we planned it, but we also kind of like called most of it out.
You went out there and called it, absolutely. And of course, you're referring to Catch 22's Gym Wars 5, which was September last year, and just a few pictures from that match. And we're going to talk about your match against Spike and your match alongside KM against Spike and Bullet very, very soon. But this match told an amazing story, because, you know, it was a culmination of the journey that the two of you had taken in Catch 22 and all the various gym wars leading up to that point. Got a round of applause from the crowd, round of applause from Mike and Paige there as well, and the respect that you two had for one another, both before and after, was there. And it was like the story was two friends going to war after everything you'd faced together up to that point. And it was a real battle, but it was an emotional story that the two of you told, and a hell of a story as well. Very, very memorable. Like you say, one of the matches that you're going to be most remembered for in 2023 for sure.
Definitely for sure. I think it's like I said, it's still something I get brought up to quite a lot actually. And yeah, me and Kiev, we really just beat the shit out of each other as well. There was one moment where to be fair, I asked for it as well, and I was like, he was like down on his knees, I'm slapping him, and I'm like, give it back to me, you're not the KMM, I know, basically. And he gives me this like, pie, and then all of a sudden, like, my nose starts bleeding, like loads of blood were coming out. Not to mention, it was Catch's new like canvas as well.
I was going to say, brand new canvas, and you're bleeding.
It was on the new canvas, and I'm like, no,
Mike's going to kill me.
I was like, yeah, Mike's was going to kill me. Yeah, he's going to kill me.
But I felt that the adding the blood into the match, added to the drama and added to the story and helped you guys to tell that story. Taking it to that next level as far as I'm concerned. And I was going to mention the brand new canvas and the blood, but I think it is clear at the end of it that Mike was proud of the two of you. There you go, as you embrace after the match, and he brings the two of you together. There you are, really kind of, well, I'd say selling, but you're probably legit in a world of pain there as well after that brutal match between the two of you. What sort of feedback did you get from Mike Bird, who of course is your trainer at Catch 22? What sort of feedback did the two of you get? I'm guessing he can only be proud of the two of you and the display that the two of you put on.
Yeah, no, he was very proud of us, and I think that was one of the reasons why it also meant a lot to us. I think he was proud because in a way it kind of felt like in a way we kind of made a statement in terms of like this is who we are, and this is what we should be, where we should be, we should be at the top kind of thing. And I feel like that's we kind of gave it all there in a way, even with little time as well.
Yeah,
we gave it away. We wanted to make sure that it is a match to be remembered, and we wanted to give something special to the fans as well. And I think for Mike, he said that it's one of the best performances he saw in both of us as well. And for him, he said it keeps getting better and better, and it means a lot to hear that, considering it's Mike Bird. It's Mike Bird as well, who's probably like no doubt like he's to a lot of people he's a legend, and for him I don't know if he likes being called a legend or not, but regardless he is, and I think he still in for 20 years strong, he's still going full time as well, and the guy is amazing. So
absolutely. I had the pleasure of speaking to Mike on the show a year and a half ago, back in 2022, and I've seen Mike work many shows around the country, including the top promotions, and still I think he's probably at his very best, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying that. But you mentioned it earlier on, and we got to go all the way back to, I think, October 2022 now. So we're talking about 15 months ago, and you mentioned it earlier. You alluded to it perfectly. Gym Wars 3 against Spike Trivet, the vulture of European wrestling, and this match was awesome as well. And I think that at the time, this was probably your biggest match that you'd ever had. At Bulk's Gym, the home of Catch 22, of course, and a terrific match. But I mean, Spike Trivet over the last few years, he's really come into his own. And like I say, not only is he one of the best wrestlers in the UK, but he's one of the best villains, one of the best heels in all of Europe. And I'm certainly not going to argue that fact for sure. But getting that opportunity to face Spike at Gym Wars 3. That must have been a bit of a surreal experience for you, but you know, an opportunity that was a great learning experience for you. But tell us about when Mike first told you that you were going to be facing Spike in October 2022, 15 months ago at Gym Wars 3. What was your reaction?
I think, to be honest, I don't even know if I've got it from Mike. Actually, I think he showed me what an idea of a card. I think this is when he was still kind of setting things up for that show, and I saw my name. Like, I think I did see my name against Spike Trivet onto his list, but I never actually heard it from Mike himself. I heard it through someone else beforehand. Actually, I think I heard it from Callie Gray, because I think he saw his name on that list too. As well. I first heard of that, and I'm like, no way. Am I really facing off against the Progress champion, like the top champion of this country? I'm like, no way. Like, but then once it was actually like fully announced, I'm like, oh wow. Like, oh wow, this is gonna be. And it was like a test in a way for me to see if I can hold up against pretty much a top name, a top talent like Spike Trivet. And, you know, he was great. He's great to work with. One of the best for sure. And I think it's like you said, he's one of the best in the country. He's like one of the best heels, one of the best characters he's got. Like, I'm surprised he's not even picked up yet. I'm surprised he's not picked up, honestly. And like, you know, that match means a lot to me. That match means a lot to me because not only like do I have this match, like a big opportunity, I go over him, I beat him. Like at that time, even now, he's still the Progress champion. I've beaten him as well.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, it may be some like interference there, but then Spike was, you know, like usual, being a dirty bastard and just.
Well, that's it. You're up against one of the biggest cheats in the game. So you know, if you've got a bit of help on the outside, then no one's going to argue that for sure.
Yeah. So thanks, Keir. Thanks, KM for the help. Honestly, there's a reason why we're a team. Like,
yeah.
It's great.
Let me ask you. So, I mean, that was 15 months ago, and you went over, you got the win, you know, which is tremendous and a real highlight of your year, that year, 2022. But if you were to get a second bite of the cherry, a second match against Spike in 2024, knowing what you know now, having what you've learned over the last year and a half, what sort of a different match do you think the fans would see, and what sort of a different Tommy Lawrence do you think Spike would get?
I think. Because the last time I faced off against Spike Trivet, I was the underdog in that story. Like, clear as day. I was still a relatively fresh name. I'm a fresh guy, fresh name. And my name was starting to build by that point, you know. And like, you know, I think it would be quite of a different match. Because a lot of the times in that match, particularly, he kept being on top. You know, there were times where, you know, I've had to, like, you know, adapt to something new in that match as well. And I feel like right now, I feel like I'm in my element. So right now, I feel like I'm in my element. So I saw a thing load up. That's why I was started for a second. I really feel like I'm in my element now, where like I am very comfortable with my skill set. I feel like I'm starting to add more new moves to my arsenal, and I feel like because I've been in the match with Spike twice now, it's now like I could beat him again without any resorting to any with him any to sort of say into some tricks or like just me having to rely on people helping me out kind of thing. I think I can, you know. I think, you know, because my style is kind of like, you know, a mixture of like you know, like a lot of the high flying and technical wrestling, but then I can also be a pretty hard hitter as well. So I can kick you I can kick the fuck out of you if I wanted to to anyone matches. So
yeah, and I think we'll also get a more mature, more confident Tommy Lawrence in 2024 if that match were to happen again. You never know. Gym War 6, make it happen. But I mean,
like,
you mentioned. Go on, please carry on.
yeah, it's like I was a young boy facing off against the top guy, but now I'm like a man facing off another man across the ring kind of thing. And become it's like you say, I've become more mature, more like more confident as well. Like, and I think that, and I feel like with my wrestling now, it shows quite a lot of the time. Yeah. So please carry on before I interrupt. So
that's all right. And you alluded to it again. Obviously, KM Lane came to your assistance in that match against Spike. That set up a tag match, didn't it, at Gym Wars 4? This one here, KM Lane, Tommy Lawrence versus Spike and Bullet. And the reason why I mention this is because it must have been another highlight of your year last year. But I think the atmosphere in that gym, Bulk's gym for Catch 22, Gym Wars 4, and that tag match that headlines the show. The atmosphere, the fans were really into it. The atmosphere was red hot. And of course, I think the dynamics really worked as well, because of course you've got yourself and KM, as built as you are, you're never going to be as big as Bullet, are you? The one-man armory. And I think the dynamics, seeing you two going up against Bullet, trying to bounce you guys around, which he did on occasions. But and of course you got the viciousness of the Sovereign Lord of Spike as well, whenever he would get the tag in. But I mean, I'm a sucker for a tag match all day long, and I think that the dynamics and the story that you guys told in that match in particular was absolutely fantastic, and the fans ate it up. And another match I'm sure you're very proud of.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm definitely very proud of that match as well, because I think, again, it was still a big test for us as well, for me, like me and Keir. And I for one love that match pure because I love like you said, I love tag team wrestling as well.
Yeah.
Pardon me. But like, yeah, like, I mean, like facing off against Bullet, I think I got what I mean. I think there was one. I think one of my mates was there, and like he pretty much like I think he said to my girlfriend as well at that show as well, and his quotes on his full words were like, "Tom's gonna die, mate." And I'm like, well, that's a fair comment, mate. But that match meant a lot, and that was definitely like a big highlight for me as well. And I think and it was very early on in the year as well, which for me, which to me that only meant that it can only go up from there.
Yeah,
like it can only go up from there, because I'm given this great opportunity against the two top guys who are still killing it right now, and and I hope to wrestle them again, honestly. And I think it was, and that match was kind of the birth of the Bounty Hunters as well for me, and I think as well, like I think it was the birth of the Bounty Hunters, because I think afterwards as well, because in a way it kind of just organically happened that me and KM Lane would be a team, kind of just casually happened, and I think it was very surreal at that point. I was like, because I remember thinking straight after the match as well, I'm like, okay, I hope everyone's happy. I hope I didn't mess up or anything like that. Everyone was super happy with it, and like more than happy with it. And I for one could not be, more proud of that performance that me and Keir had as well. So, and Mike said, that's one of the more, again, it was a very class performance from both sides as well, and from everyone. It was nuts. It was. Really was. It's kind of nuts to reflect going back now. Actually, it's weird to think though as well. Sometimes that day feels like yesterday when that happened as well. and that was when I was still wearing the tights as well. Like, and yeah, I don't know what else to describe it really.
Incredible experience.
Yeah, it was just a good experience.
Let me ask you about the venue then, Bulk's Gym, because obviously it's the home of Catch 22. It's the home of the training school of Catch 22, run and owned by Mike Bird, of course. But that's where the gym wars shows happen. Now, obviously, you've got fans around two sides of the ring, but it's a very intimate venue, isn't it? I mean, it's a gym. It's not an arena. It's not a hall. It's not a theatre. It's a gym. So, I mean, quite a unique venue to start off with, quite an intimate venue. But when that place gets rocking, you know, it's I'm guessing there's no place you'd rather be than Bulk's Gym, kind of wrestling in front of however many people are there. But it's such a special venue when you've got a wrestling show there. The atmosphere is red hot. But I mean, you tell me, you've performed in that gym for Gym Wars many times. What's it like to wrestle in that venue?
Yeah, honestly, like genuinely, it's a different feel. It's a very different feel wrestling on those shows compared to any other show I've ever wrestled in, like I've ever been a part of as well. So, and like I think it may like because it's like it's full of like no, of course it's gonna have a hardcore fan base there.
Yeah,
of course. But then it was filled with like a lot of like non-wrestling fans who've never even watched WWE before, who've never seen wrestling, and
that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, and especially with my family who aren't necessarily into wrestling as well, and they've been to one of my shows, that tag match, and so it's a really like surreal like experience there though, because in the one hand I'm just kind of like, because in the one hand like some people may treat it as just another wrestling show, but for me I treat them like they're the big shows, you know, even though they may not have a big capacity, but we are still able to bring in like over 100 people there, and that's in that little gym as well, and
that's just two sides of the ring, so that's quite impressive.
Sides, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And when it comes, and because it's so intimate as well, you're gonna have to like work around the areas around as well, because you want to make sure the crowd sees your face, sees your reaction to when you're selling as well.
Yeah.
And you know, I've wrestled in like, you know, venues very similar to that as well, and I like wrestling in venues that are like very intimate like that though, because for audiences they can get a very close look to how you're in pain, how in like, you know, you're selling, how you're in character. You know, it reminds me, because the gym was, in a way, it reminds me of the Resistance Gallery back in La Lucha. So I used to do a lot of shows for them back in the day, and so it's kind of nice in a way. So it kind of warms my heart in a way, because it's kind of like a nostalgia in a way, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Let's talk about probably your proudest moment, your biggest accomplishment, certainly of 2023, maybe of your career. But I'm going to bring up that picture again, and it's of Tommy Lawrence with the Jurassic Pro Wrestling Indominus Championship there. The first ever Indominus Champion, if I'm not mistaken, Tommy?
Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
There we go. And I've got to say, the belt, the red strap, goes well with your gear, goes well with you for sure. You make a good looking champion there with that championship, I've got to say. But I mean, this was going back to, I think, October now, when you picked up the strap and you won the tournament there. I think there was a little bit of some qualifiers to get through to the championship match where you won. But how does it feel, first of all, to be the Indominus champion for Jurassic Pro? Tell us how you're feeling about being the I Division champion.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I feel like that meant a lot to me in my career, because I feel like Jurassic Pro Wrestling have done nothing but been so great to me. I feel like they're one of the first companies to really give me like full full of opportunities there. And I remember, and I think that my debut all the way leading up to my championship win has nothing but been like successful. Honestly, like there may have been some losses, there may have been some wins. Like either way, I think for me that Jurassic is nothing but love there. Honestly, the people there, it's always such a lovely vibe there. Great promotion. Honestly, I think every wrestler should try and hit up there. Honestly, because it's just a nice, it's just a really cool environment there. And for me, having to be the first ever Indominus champion meant so much to me, because not only they really believed in me. I think it's my first ever singles belt as well. My first ever singles belt, and it meant it was just mind blowing for me. And I remember from that show, not only was my girlfriend watching there, who's like one of my biggest supporters, with surprise, my nan was there, like just out of nowhere. I only just seen her, just for the first time as I'm making my entrance. So seeing her while I'm making an entrance was genuine, pure shock. I was like, oh my God, my nan. Oh my God. So for me, I was just so glad for her to see that moment of me winning that championship. And I feel like qualifying for that tournament as well, it was quite stacked actually. More than you realize. I remember my first qualifying match was against Smashy Mike as well, and that was a fun match as well. I think two different styles there. I feel like we're somewhat similar. Weight divisions. He may be a bit stronger than I am, but I'm probably more taller and faster. So. And then I faced off against my partner again, Kier, KM Lane, which is also a great match. I recently just had a review from someone on TikTok about it, just out of nowhere as I'm scrolling. I think someone sent it to me as well, and it was kind of great to hear. But yeah, I think being the Indominus Championship means so much to me, and I aim to defend it against the very best, honestly. And I think that belt does. I agree, that does look great on me. So
sure does. That's a pretty cool picture. Like I say, the red strap definitely goes well with your gear for sure. Let me just get my place here. So when you got that 3 count, when the referee hit 3, when he raised your hands, gave you the championship belt, that must have been a pretty cool feeling. What were your emotions, especially considering your journey in the wrestling business up till then, and that being your first singles championship as well? As you just said, Tommy, pretty cool moment, but also I'm guessing a pretty emotional moment as well for you.
It was, yeah, because I feel like in a lot of ways I've always been depicted as an underdog, and I feel like it was in a way for me climbing up the ladder of just because I feel like it just feels like a cool moment, and I think as soon as it counted 3, it was just full of a mix of emotions. Definitely I was excited, I was emotional, I was just it was just full of joy. So
yeah.
It was shocking, honestly. To me, it was just because even though with wrestling, we all know it's scripted and whatnot, but even
it's predetermined, yeah, of course,
it's predetermined, yeah, but nothing beats moments like that, because they are quite genuine as well.
They're real,
yeah. And for me, I just remember I think I had at least 5 minutes just the ring to myself, just celebrating the ring, and I was just for me, I was just throwing around the belt and whatnot, Seth Rollins style, he did, and WrestleMania 31.
Yeah.
For me, I was like, I had to. Like, why not? Like, I mean, I just needed to do that. And for me, like I said, I think Jurassic have done nothing but give me like some of the best opportunities I've had there. And you know, and I aim to do a lot for them as well as they have done for me. So
yeah. And what I think that championship win and becoming the Indominus champion did for you was, I think it kind of it took you to that next level, as far as I'm concerned, Tommy. And I think that it added to your maturity, added to your confidence, added to your overall game. And I think in a lot of people's eyes, and a lot of people's estimations, and maybe your own as well, it's taken you to that next level. So as 2024 is a starting point, you're kind of, you know, head and shoulders above where you were 12 months previously, because of that championship win and because of what it means, what it represents, and what you offered to it as a champion.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, I think I feel like for me it was like a long journey of having to, you know, grow up, essentially keep working at my hardest. So I think for me, you know, I think that championship win has definitely gotten me more noticed, I think, as well, for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people are now starting to pay attention to Tommy Lawrence now because of it.
100%. Let's jump to some questions and comments that have come through live during the course of this interview. We've had a whole ton so far. Now, this person's name won't come up, but I've checked Facebook, and we've got a certain Brett Meadows that says, does Tommy need any hair tips? Brett, as good as your hair is, Brett, I don't think you need any hair tips. He's got. Did you not see the pictures I brought up earlier? He's got phenomenal hair for sure.
Mate, I take inspiration from Brett any day. Honestly,
he has got pretty good hair, but what can I say? Every time I see Brett, he tries to flick my cap off. So he's obviously, I don't know. Maybe he likes the bold look. Let's have a look. We've got some more here, and we've got somebody you might know very, very well. The Peckham Playboy Hakan's been in touch, watching us live on YouTube. Thank you very much, Hakan. 2024, Tommy Lawrence will be taking over the world. Absolutely, we'll be bringing up the Peckham Playboy Hakan a little bit later on, because we'll be mentioning WrestleForce, of course. Real Wrestling, watching us live via YouTube. Thank you very much. And Eve, Riot Girls of Wrestling, watching us live via YouTube. Thank you, Eve. Those intimate venues all teach you to talk quietly in matches, which a lot of people seem to have forgotten these days. Hence the you talk too much segments. Absolutely, if anybody watches Botchamania, but I suppose it does teach you, different skills as opposed to performing in a bigger venue. Knowing that you have to be a little bit quieter. We've also got Alex Robbins watching us live via YouTube. Tommy Lawrence is a top geezer. Saw him fight the other month. Such a sick show. Thank you very much for watching and for sending your questions, Alex. Okay, so we got some more questions that I will bring up during the course of the interview, but please keep sending your questions. Please keep sending your questions. And if you've got any hair tips for me, not for Tommy, but if you've got any hair tips for me, how I could grow this thing back, because there's one reason why I don't take this cap off. Everybody would be blinded if I did. Here we go. But please keep watching. Please keep sending through your questions. Now, the next place I want to bring us to. Now, we've worked a couple of times at Immortal Wrestling, haven't we? Yeah. And a place very close to my heart, my local promotion, somebody that I've worked, a company that I've worked with and alongside over the last couple of years. Now, I think back in May was your first outing for Immortal Wrestling at the Venom nightclub in Westbury against somebody Callie Gray. And then this past November, we saw you again. We brought you back, but under slightly different circumstances, this time in a tag match to crown the first ever Immortal Tag Team Champions alongside Lion Kid. And a great match, probably one of the best matches of the night. It got "This is awesome" chant, and against the Demon Death Squad and the Battle Cats. But Immortal Wrestling, a good up and coming promotion from the Southwest here. You've been a part of it over the last 12 months, certainly in them two shows. What's your journey been like with Immortal Wrestling? And I think you've got a little bit of a rivalry going with a certain Xander who is one half of the new tag team champions and
wow,
the current cruiserweight champion. But give us a quick overview of your journey with Immortal, because it's been quite eventful, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, it definitely has, for sure. I think, yeah, you know, like I think with Immortal Wrestling, I think I've, you know, I for one, like I've had a great time, like, you know, in that venue the first time I was there as well. Like, it was cool, unique, you know, like it felt like a cool atmosphere there as well.
It was a nightclub, wasn't it? So different to, you know, a village hall or a venue. You know, it's a nightclub. So yeah, very unique for sure.
Very unique. But yeah, no, I think I was also going up against a very familiar foe known as Cali Gray. You know, I think, you know, me and him have quite a history when it comes to having loads of matches, and you know, our history dates back into like Falling Star. You know, like I mean, I've had like a lot of great matches with him, main events, and even like title matches with him. And you know, it's not even just Falling Star. I've faced him in so many places as well. Like I mean, and you know, I think, you know, for me, it's like, you know, for me to go over him felt great. You know, I mean, like, of course, he's also like one of my best mates in real life as well.
Yeah.
So, but like, you know, it's always great being in the ring against him. Cracking matches as usual for us. And you know, I'm the number one contender for the Immortal Cruiserweight Championship. So that's it. So that's where the beef comes in, you know, because I'm kind of, you know, I'm kind of, because I've been expecting my championship match for a bit now, and it's like, you know, where you been, mate? Where you been?
So I have it on good authority. That I know the promoter Jay is very, very keen to see you face off for that Cruiserweight Championship at their next show, whenever that might be, 2024. But that's going to be a tremendous match. And I've got to say, teaming up with Lion Kid, it was a pairing that I never thought I'd see, but never knew that I wanted until that day. But having Lion Kid on the card, having Lion Kid as a teammate, certainly lifts the atmosphere and brings the energy, doesn't he?
Oh God, yeah. I love Lion Kid. Like, I mean, just doing the entrance with him, you know, to his theme song, it's great. I love it. The kids love it. I mean, we've got lovely mains, you know, like. And you know, like, it's like, yeah, like he's a great guy, honestly, fantastic performer as well. And I think I feel like he's quite underrated as well. You know, because I've seen clips of him where he's in, like, you know, Dragon Gate, UK, I believe, where he's like doing like fucking cool shit against like Akira Tozawa in a bunch Pac, I believe, as well.
Yeah. He's wrestling everybody. He's so underrated.
Yeah, no, like, I think, yeah, like seeing him face off against those like big names as well, and I'm like, oh shit, like, he's kind of experienced it all, isn't he? Like,
yeah.
So,
and a really fun match.
Yeah, it was a really fun match, and like it got the crowd going. You know, like, I mean, it's a shame we didn't become the first ever tag team champions, but. Oh well, I still have my Cruiserweight Championship shot. So
you got the Cruiserweight Championship in your eyesight, haven't you? But there we go. We're going to
more gold around my waist, you know. Have more gold.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure more goals coming your way in 2024 anyway. I'm pretty sure. But we're going to talk about more of your highlights very, very soon. But I'm very keen to find out a bit more about your wrestling fandom and when wrestling first came into your life, when you first fell in love with pro wrestling. Tell us a bit about it. When did it come into your life, and what sort of impact did it have on you at that young age?
Oh, hey, honestly.
Can you remember that far back?
No, not even. I feel like I loved wrestling since as long as I can remember. I feel like I've always watched it since I was born. I think I think my older brother actually, I think he told me that I think he kind of watched wrestling first, and then I kind of came in one day and just watched it with him. I think this was back when we had like a lot of the videotapes and the DVDs back then of like WrestleMania 21, 22, I believe WrestleMania 23 was airing on that year as well. So I think that was I think I was still pretty new to it around that point, but it was quite obvious I was very, very into it as well. And like the video, I think I also had like VHS tapes of like some of the old Attitude Era as well, and I believe it had like Austin and The Rock, like their first match at WrestleMania 15, I believe.
Yeah,
and that's like the oldest match I can remember. That was like the first one that I watched, and I remember being very much hooked into like the DVDs, and like I remember being hooked like right away. I believe. I think at least that's what my brother told me. But I always feel like I've loved it since I was born. To be honest with you,
yeah.
And like for me, like it was the only thing I kind of enjoyed loving really, because I was never really into football, never into basketball, never into like any other sport other than just pro wrestling, and you know, I think for me it was quite clear as day that I wanted to be a part of it. I remember telling my mum that and my dad, and their reactions were like, "Okay, sweetie, no problem, no problem."
He'll grow out of it. You know, he'll be a fireman or astronaut. But no.
Yeah.
I mean, you told me off air before we went live that you started your training at a very tender age of just 12 years old.
Yeah.
Now, that's mind-blowing. I mean, you know, I'm sure you won't mind me saying, but you're 23 now, so you've been training and performing for 11 years or thereabouts. How did you kind of start your training at 12 years old? And tell us a little bit about that part of your early career.
Well, I think to be honest with you, I think my mum, because I think I was at that age where like I just really wanted to go to a training session so badly, because I was always watching like, you know, like clips from like the Performance Center in WWE, and seeing like what was the show called for TNA where they try to get the British wrestlers to come
Gut
in?
Check?
I think it might have been Gut Check. Or it was British Boot Camp.
British Boot Camp.
Yeah, and I'm seeing videos like that, and that's and it's like making me really want to go to a training session so badly. And so my mum, I think she was like searching at wrestling schools and whatnot. What's the nearest by? You know, I'm obviously not gonna name the promotion, because I think some people I know, and I'm like,
yeah.
But I mean, I started, you know, like training at the age of 12, and I think I remember it was just like, because it was like a kids session as well, and I think it was just like the four of us there and whatnot. I just remembered like, good Lord, I'm very nervous. Like, and I think there was no ring. I don't think there was a ring there as well. I think it was just like, it was like five of us plus the trainer, of course. There was like four trainees there, and I'm like learning grappling and bumping for the first time, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, wow, like, and you know, I think, and they were, and I think the first few years they would be like so on and off, because I was still a kid. I was going through school. I was beginning. I think I was still at my beginning stage of going to secondary school. I still had a lot of schoolwork to do, and I think I still had like other commitments and whatnot. So there would still be like on and off sessions there, and where like I would actually kind of meet up with some of the, you know, like I would meet up with like Callum Newman there as well. Like I kind of, in a way, we kind of started together, but he started like probably weight before me because he said that he started like 9 years old, I believe, something like that. But yeah, I think he, I think, where was I going with this?
That's right.
Oh yes. But yeah, no, I was going through. So yeah, I was kind of like going through like. There were times where I've kind of like nearly gave up wrestling because I feel like my progression wasn't going anywhere near as I wanted it to be. But then, you know, I've had like other wrestlers, other people who are in the business, you know, like recommending me to go to other wrestling schools because that place was a bad environment for me.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm quite thankful I've listened to those people and went on to go to the London School of Lucha Libre in 2018 and got trained by, you know, Greg Burridge and Gary Vanderhorn. And those 2 years of training with them has been very rewarding for me because they were some of the best years of my life there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen at many wrestling shows, certainly on the merch stands, that a lot of pro wrestlers nowadays have football jerseys, soccer jerseys with their emblem, with their logo, with their name on it. But I think you started the trend before anybody else because I've got this picture here from 2019. Now, this was, I think, before you found your current gimmick and persona. This was under a different name and a different time, and this may have been Lucha, the London Lucha League. London Lucha League. That's right. But tell us about this because this is 2019, I think, and already a few years in, looking pretty jacked as well, but a slightly different Tommy Lawrence to what we know now.
Yeah, no, definitely, of course, very different. I do want to explain the origins behind that as well. Actually,
please do.
How I became David Rackham as well. I think I remember having like a training session one day. I think we were all having like matches, and I think because it wasn't like a very busy session as well, but it was still like we had like quite a lot of people there because I think there was a lot of I think there was a show going on that night that everyone went to support the one another kind of thing. I still went to the training session. I think I had a match. I think it was against Bo from the Brothers of Seduction, if you remember them. Bo, and you know, that was like my first proper match as well. Like that, my first actual match as well, and like you know, it was something I was very proud of, and I was showing it to people all around. And then I think it was afterwards that it was from Greg, everyone was watching. Everyone was quite amazed, and Greg literally announced it. It was like, yeah, you're definitely gonna be on the show on the net very, very, very soon, and which that meant so much to me. And I think he may have pulled me to the side that, you know, there's a gimmick idea that I think that would suit you. You're going to be a part of a group, a football group, because Evan Lee was injured at the time, and he was doing the football character as a solo at the time as well. So there was an idea that he had his own team, his own football team, you know, and he'd be like the main man, like the captain, the manager, and everything. And I think it was supposed to be a one-time thing as well. Supposed to be a one-time thing. Like I remember just like I remember if I'm gonna be honest, I remember not liking it at the time. But for me, I'm still not gonna say no because I'm making my show debut. You know, like I think it was, you know, I'm not gonna like, you know, I'm not gonna pass this off, you know, because really I'm not a football fan. You ask me about anything about football, I won't know.
Same.
I will not know. Well, I literally can't tell you a thing. Like I may have played it before, but even I play terribly as well. Like so, and like, I think the other teammates as well. We've had like, you know, Harry Payne, who is now known as Harrison Payne. You know, there was like
two-step, I think, in progress.
Yeah, two-step. Yeah,
yeah. That's one of the funniest things in progress is watching two-step. What he's do-rag. I love it.
It's unbelievably funny. Bless that man, honestly. But yeah, and then there's Joel Reaper, the goalkeeper. I think initially it was just like 3 members, and then eventually I got my own twin brother, and like you know, I've got like, you know, because I was called David Rackham as my football character. I had a brother called Danny Rackham.
Of course.
Yeah, because why not? You know, because it's part of the thing. But I think at the beginning stages, I didn't really like the gimmick that much. But I think from that year on, I think on forwards, I loved it. It went from like not liking it so much, it's okay, and then like boom, like it was great. We were doing something unique that wasn't really done at the time as well. Like I think we were like a football faction, and we were doing like football rules in a wrestling match, and it was something. There was something else, honestly, and and I think it made me realize why like having a character in wrestling is so important, you know. And I think I remember having like a trainee show and having practicing my own gimmick as well. Like I didn't know what to do as just myself, because I didn't really necessarily didn't really have a gimmick behind it or a purpose. I was just some guy in lucha tights, and then that was it really. And you know, it kind of taught me why David Rackham was so important. And I'm very thankful I started off that way, because it's still kind of, because I still have that learning curve to now even as well. And it kind of helped me learn who I am as a wrestler now. So for me, I've got nothing love for Evan Lee. I've got nothing but love for Harrison Payne. Like I genuinely got nothing love for those boys, because they're like one of my best mates. So
yeah. Let's talk about this character, because obviously being trained at the London School of Lucha Libre, but you also performed, we touched on it earlier on, by the London Lucha League, and there you are performing under a mask. So this would have been about the same time, maybe 2019, 2018, 2019. Yeah. So how did that opportunity come about? And a bit of a change to wrestling in a football t-shirt to wrestling in a lucha mask. But another great learning opportunity, I'm guessing, and a lot of fun as well.
It was a lot of fun. It was a great learning opportunity for me. You know, I think that Lucha Britannia like festival I did, that was still in my first year as well in wrestling. I mean, because I think at that point I was still kind of getting like one show per month, really, because I was still kind of learning under the ropes. I was part of a faction, so I wasn't really taking any bookings outside of my wrestling home school in a way. But I think that for me that was a good opportunity, though, because not only like playing the David Rackham character helped me like character wise, like personality wise as well. But I think having to put on a whole mask where an audience can't really see your face. They can't see, so they won't see a lot of your selling a lot of the times, but it's more to do with your body, how you react to it as well. So you kind of have to, like, in a way, like, exaggerate in a way, but while still making it look normal. And I kind of like, it does help you quite a lot, actually, and that's why I'm very thankful that I'm part of like Lucha Britannia now, because they're great shows. It's unique. They do things that not many wrestling shows do, and like I think around that point I was like, you know, like it was that in that I had it was that gimmick. It was that El Diablo del Rojo as well. So I was a devil, but I was also a babyface as well. And I'm just like, right, how do I make this work? How do I make this work? But luckily I did, and some fans loved it. And it was just, I think I've gotten into it. I think the first day of this festival was a tag match as well. It was like me and Pete. Which is kind of funny considering heavily united, but then but under two different gimmicks there. Yeah, so I believe his gimmick was like a snake or crocodile. I think I'm not too sure. I can't remember what.
Some reptilian character.
Yeah, some reptilian weird creature thing.
Only in wrestling. Only in wrestling.
Only in wrestling. Yeah, and then I was against Metallico, / Greg Burridge, and and then I think I faced off against a wolf, in that match. Yeah, and yeah, it was a great learning experience because that was the first time facing like my coach as well, and I mean, right now I'm kind of just realizing I faced off against both of my coaches, so as well, yeah. So, and the second, and then the next 2 days were like chaos matches, essentially multi-man matches where where it's just filled with chaos and everyone just kind of everyone just kind of beats the fuck out of each other, hoping that one last man will win. And it was just a good tour. It was a good first tour for me as well. It's a very good first tour, and it was just. Yeah, I think it was definitely where I got more closer and closer with some of my wrestling fans there as well.
Yeah, for sure. I want to bring up this picture because we saw this earlier picture of you under a mask, and I understand that you've had more recent matches under a mask, a slightly updated version of your Lucha character there, a 2023 version in a Lucha Britannia ring. But one other picture I want to bring up, and this is going back to 2019, but this picture here, so this would have been 4 years ago, but look how ripped you are in that picture. And you would have been, 19 years old, there or thereabouts? And I'm guessing having... 18. But I mean, having started your wrestling training at 12 years old, I'm guessing that you would have been hitting the gym at a pretty young age as well. Certainly to get that sort of physique, 18, 19 years old, you must have been in the gym a lot at that age.
Yeah, I think I was hitting the gym at that point. I think if I'm gonna be honest with you, I think around that point I was still doing exercises at home, just hoping to be as lean as possible. And I think around that point as well, later on in that year and earlier next year, I was doing an internship where I was kind of just working around a better gym. So for me, whenever I'm on break, whenever I was, whenever my shift ended, I kind of just had my time, had some time to myself to just, work out and whenever I wanted really. And that was still when I was training at Lucha, when I was just kind of I think that where I could just go straight from Whitechapel to Bethnal Green, not even take the train, just walk it, and it wasn't even that far as well, and it was very convenient as well, and because then I can just do my private sessions as well. Around that point, I think that definitely got a lot of people's attention. For sure, I think in that picture, it's everyone was quite stunned because everyone thought I was this trainee who only just started and whatnot, and I'm still in my first year into wrestling, and even wrestlers who have been wrestling for years and years, and I was like, how long have you been working for? And I'm like, no, I'm not. No, mate, I've only just started. I've only just started.
Let's take a little bit of a skip forward then, because obviously after 2019 we knew that 2020 was pretty much a washout with the pandemic and with lockdown, of course, and you came back August 2021 along with the rest of British wrestling when the doors reopened. A slightly more updated look. You've got your actual name as a wrestling name. You're now Tommy Lawrence. And you've got your new gear there, new look. and maybe a slightly different attitude to go along with it as well. But I mean, did kind of that time at home during lockdown, did that give you time to reflect and maybe think about how you wanted to come back? And obviously you did come back a different character with a different name and a slightly different look and a different persona and attitude. But I'm guessing, was that something that had been manifesting for a while, or something that happened or came to your head during lockdown?
I think that's something that's kind of, I've always been wondering for a while, actually, for me, even before pandemic, because I kind of like, not in no disrespect whatsoever to Everton United, but I kind of looked at it as like a stepping stone in a sense, but more like in a sense where, like, you know, I can, you know, become like, you know, where like I was kind of building myself up, really. I was still kind of like just, you know, like kind of just still improving in ring, because at the time I was very green, you know. I was still very green. I mean, like, even though I had been like training since I was a little kid, I was still figuring out like what I wanted to do and where I was. And I think for me, so when I think for me, I've always had that. I think for me, why I returned my real name is because, well, I wanted, you know, to represent like the family quite well, as my brother does as well, who's like who is like a professional cricketer who played for England, and, you know, who played for Essex and now is going into a new team, who's going into Surrey actually. And I think because of that, and I think for me, I kind of wanted to represent the Lawrence family, especially when a year prior my mother passed away, and who was like my biggest supporter, who would listen to anything I talked about wrestling related. And so I kind of wanted to just, you know, come back stronger, more motivated, more confident, different, you know, I think like in a way different attitude, but still the same. You know, I want to still keep a bit of David Beckham in me, you know, but have that, you know, that charm there. And, you know, I think, and you know, that's the thing. I was still doing David Beckham. I was still doing shows as David Beckham. Sorry, I've got a knock. That's sorry. Do you mind if I go around?
That's all right. You carry on. No, I feel for time.
Audience, I do apologise for this unprofessional act here, but, you know,
that's all right. And just a quick reminder that my next guest is only next Wednesday, the 17th of January. The Golden Boy himself, Miles Kamen, the current BWR Cruiserweight Champion, will be live on Wrestling with Johners. So don't forget to check that one out. And of course, recent interviews. Please go back and check on YouTube or whatever audio platform you listen to this on. Superstar, the Queen of Mean, Lana Austin, who was one of my guests in December. And not forgetting British wrestling legend, World of Sport legend, Johnny Saint in episode 7, parts 1 and 2 of my latest Legends Masterclass series. And of course, Brandon Lee was my most recent live guest just 5 days ago, last Friday. So go and check that out. And I think we've got Tommy Lawrence back. Are we back, Tommy?
Yeah, we're back. Yeah. Oh, man.
But that's all right.
Even when you got a whole flat to yourself, you still get interrupted. Like,
that's all right. But let's talk a bit about Catch 22, because obviously we spoke about Gym Wars and the fabulous matches that you had in Gym Wars 2022 and 2023, Spike Trevay, Bullet, KM Lane. But the man behind it all, of course, Mr. Mike Bird, former guest of the show, good friend of the show, and your trainer, your coach at Catch 22. Now, when did you first come across Mike? When did you first come onto his radar? And when did you first train with Catch 22? Because I know that they started their school in about 2020, but really didn't get going until 2021 for obvious reasons. But when did you first come across Mike, and when did that relationship start between the two of you?
Well, I think I remember I was still training Lucha by the end of, like, you know, end of 2019, early 2020, and I was still doing shows with them. I think you know, Everton United were tag team champs by that point. I for one got recommended by Callie Gray, who at that point we were developing quite a friendship there as well at that point. And he was always insistent that I should go to the school, learn from like Mike Bird and whatnot, and you will learn. He was really promoting him so heavily. I was like, okay, I'm sold. So I remember having that first ever session around January of 2020, and I first meet him. He was lovely as ever. He was the loveliest guy I've ever met, and he was a lovely guy. And I think he just kind of, it was. I remember being the warm up fit being very intense as well, and I'm just like, oh God, Jesus Christ! I was blowing out of my ass in the beginning there as well, and I was and once we actually got down to doing the roles and doing the wrestling, and I think I kind of impressed him kind of right away, and I was getting good impressions as well, and I think I was set in stone to keep going there. I think obviously around that point I was still kind of, it was a tough because early 2020. 2020, I was busy with my internship and training with Lucha. So for me, in my mind, I was quite nervous of moving to one school to another because I was felt like I was betraying them. But no, Greg was I think Greg was still, he was fine with me training with whatever really. And I think with and I think I started to go there more regularly during lockdown. I think as well because I think and once that was and I think Cal did tell me that Mike was really happy that I was a part of the team because he said that I really impressed him from that first session that I was a part of, and I think this was when I think he did a couple tapes around NXT UK at that point, I think as well because
he did. He did a few tapings. He did,
because I remember he had a whole WWE shirt on and stuff like that, and and I remember hearing stories around that point as well, and for me, I owe nothing. Not nothing. I owe literally everything to Mike for what I've done in the past couple of years, and I think I've been, and it's Mike, but Mike is not only one of the best coaches in the UK, but he is just the best person as well. He, he is a very patient man for everyone's skill level, and he's always got something to help with everything with anyone as well. And I couldn't recommend going to Catch 22 enough. It's in my opinion the best wrestling school in the UK, and alongside a bunch of other great wrestling schools that produce such great talent. And I think we have got some great talent here in Catch 22, and some of them are up and coming as well. And I think going to Catch 22 really changed my career trajectory as well. And I think going to Catch as well, it made it I think it made such a big difference in my career as well. And it especially during lockdown, and especially the build up for Tommy Lawrence out of the David Beckham gimmick as well. Because I think Mike was a very big believer in me. He believed that I was worth a whole lot. And he believed that I was, I think he just he just had this big belief in me that I can make it on my own.
Yeah. Yeah,
which
absolutely.
meant so much to me, because I remember at the time, without having to use the David Beckham gimmick, I was worried about what kind of gimmick I was going to do and what this and that, and I'm like, just be you. He was like, just be you, be like the best you possible, and show everyone that you can, like show everyone that you can be a great professional wrestler, and like that has nothing. That meant so much to me, that he had this amount of belief, but also a lot of love for me as well. So I really highly recommend everyone to go catch 22 and, you know, train under the best.
That's Gravesend, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Gravesend, yeah. Box Gym as well. So yeah.
Just search Catch 22 on all your socials, and you get contact details there. Reach out to Mike, reach out to Catch 22 and the team there, but they will certainly reply to your inquiries. And yeah, absolutely. But one other thing that I want to bring up in relation to Catch 22, and I think it happened in September of 2022, and there was this 3 or 4 minute video that I saw on your socials and on Catch 22's YouTube channel, and it's basically a very personal story about your journey in the business up to that point, about the heartbreak of losing your mother, about how you didn't want to follow in your brother's footsteps, and how you had this passion for professional wrestling, and how you wanted to carve your own path, and tell your own story. But tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind the narrative behind that video and that story, because I think, in a nutshell, if anybody didn't know who Tommy Lawrence was, watching that 3 or 4 minute video would have given them a great insight, a great glimpse into you, what you're all about, what your passions are, what your motivations are, and you know, but tell us about it in your own words.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that video, that video, like, still really means a lot to me, because that's like bringing up a lot of personal stuff in there as well. You know, like, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so and with that as well, like, I was kind of, I think, you know, I mean, this is when, like, everybody was, you know, telling their stories, everyone, yeah, explaining, like, their origins and whatnot, and I was kind of one of the first people to do so. And for me, I kind of just went, you know, I want to talk about my mum. I want to talk about, like, personal stuff going on there. I want to make sure that, you know, it gets recognized to the people out there, to get a bit insight of who Tommy is. And I think, you know, I think my mum was always my biggest motivator in the world. She was always like, the best person for me.
Yeah.
I think she was the one that I would talk to constantly about wrestling. She was my biggest believer in the world. I would literally talk to her about anything in the world, whether she knows it or not. She was like, you know, even like, I would talk to her about random stuff, and she wouldn't even know what I'm talking about, but she would still listen to me and still would ask me, what is that? What is this and that? And she allowed me to explain in full detail in a lot of them as well. And, you know, just it's quite hard, man. It was quite hard it was quite hard, and you know, I wanted to you know, make sure, you know, like, I think I just wanted to make sure that, like, you know, that I showcase my athleticism, my hard work there, and, you know, like, and I just wanted to, and I also, in a sense as well, that video kind of shows my origin story in a way,
Yeah.
Alongside the story I just told as well, and how I became, like, you know, Tommy Lawrence, and how he came back into, you know, how he came back into the to doing shows from the pandemic. I think that's kind of like somewhat of the origin story there as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for telling us your kind of version of how that video came about. And check it out on Catch 22's YouTube channel. Really quite an emotional but very forthright and passionate story from Tommy Lawrence. And like I say, it's an origin story. But you mentioned your brother there. I think is it Daniel Lawrence, former Essex and Essex and England cricketer, and he's just signed for Surrey for 2024. So congratulations to him. But your brother must be very proud of you and your accomplishments in the wrestling world. Is he a fan of yours, and does he come to see you perform at all?
Well, not as much as he wants to, honestly. I think because he does have a busy schedule.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because he has a busy schedule, and and he is very proud of me, and I'm just grateful to have a brother like him as well. And I think he's kind of a big inspiration for me in terms of making it as well. So I think to see what he's able to accomplish makes me more motivated and makes me want to accomplish in a way that in how much he's doing and what I want to do in my professional wrestling. And I think the first show he did come for me was a Lucha Britannia show. I had a tag match going on in Shoreditch, and it was just great. It was just great. It was great there because it's like one of those ones where he'll go in once I'm there, afterwards he'll just leave. Luckily, it was the first match, so for me, because he's a busy guy, because he's a busy guy as well, and he brought his missus as well, who's just lovely as ever, and like all families members do,
Yeah.
But it was just he's a great role model for me, and I think for me, I'm glad I've made him proud. I think not only is he proud of me just purely for my wrestling career, I think he's also just proud of how grown up how much I've grown as a person as well. Because I was a struggling kid who got unemployed, living with my dad. My mental health wasn't great because I was going through going through the stuff with my mum. I was going through a breakup at the time as well, so mentally I wasn't there, but he was still a big believer in me, and for me, I did my best to do a lot of rebuilding and I texted it. He was the first person I texted when I was moving in with my girlfriend to have my very first flat to my own, and I just feel how much he loves me.
Yeah.
And it's always a great thing to hear, honestly. So I can literally ask nothing more, honestly.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Now we mentioned that 2022 and 2023 were great years for you. You branched out, you wrestled for many different promotions. One promotion in particular that I think invested a lot of time and effort in yourself is WrestleForce. Now I mentioned brought up WrestleForce quite a bit with my last guest, Brandon Lee, one half of the WrestleForce Tag Team Champions, alongside Nathan Angel, one half of the Prestige, of course. But you kind of worked with quite a bit Hakan, didn't you? The Peckham Playboy. So I think you had a number of matches with him as tag team partners. Now Hakan actually sent a question earlier on relating to that. Now, let's see. I don't know if this has any relevance to WrestleForce, but 2023, the year we won the Tag Team Championships, what promotion was that in? Was it in WrestleForce or somewhere else?
It was in WrestleForce.
Tell us a bit about that, and tell us a bit about Hakan, because he's been a big supporter of Wrestling with Johners, but obviously a big supporter of yourself and former Tag Team Champions, former Tag Team partner of yours as well. But tell us a little bit about Hakan and your time with him in WrestleForce.
WrestleForce. I mean, WrestleForce are a great place. You know, they literally great. They're a great promotion, full of like great footage, for like great amazing talent. And I think I remember having the opportunity to wrestle Hacken for the first time. I was like, oh great, oh this is great. Because this is also a guy I kind of like in a way grew up watching as well. Because like in that very place I first started training, like I remember like watching him on shows, like whether he was like a face or a heel, and like and I just remember thinking, oh, this guy's cool. This guy's really cool. And so for me, having to wrestle him as well was like, oh, this is kind of funny actually. Pardon me. I think the very first time I wrestled him was at a fair show. We had like it was just a very cool, simple ass match. And then we had another match announced, like I think a week or two later. It was in like Southend. It was a great match, honestly. Like I think it was one that was quite early on for Tommy Lawrence's career as well. And I think after that match, it was kind of like a student versus student mentor kind of thing afterwards. And it also kind of led to my first championship as well as Tommy Lawrence as the WrestleForce Tag Team Champions. So, and we've had that. I think we had that a month or 2 month long championship reign as well. So, I had gold around my waist, and we both looked great in it. So,
100%.
And sorry, my battery is very low. So
that's all right. Do you need to find a charger or?
Yeah, I might do if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I can say nothing but great things about Hakan. He's a great dude, great wrestler. And he's very easy to work with as well. So, and I highly recommend a lot of places use him. So,
absolutely. But how much battery have you got? Have you got is it nearly
4%.
run out?
4%.
Go and get a charger, and I'll cover.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yes,
Go and get a charger.
Thank you very much.
That's all right. You carry on. But I just want to thank everybody for sending in their questions during this live episode of Wrestling with Johners, episode 341. And like I say, it's my second live interview of 2024. And I just want to say that I'm really, really blessed with the guests that I've had over the last few years, really. We've just celebrated 5 years of Wrestling with Johners. Very, very passionate about covering the British independent wrestling scene. And if you haven't already, if you love British independent wrestling and if you love interviews with the best independent wrestling names on the UK, European and worldwide scene, then please hit that like and hit that subscribe button. Again, ever closer to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. But even if you listen to us on Spotify or Apple, throw us a follow, throw us a 5-star. But here's the man. He's just getting himself organised, just about to plug his phone in. We don't want his phone to die before this interview ends. But let us know when you're ready, Tommy.
Yeah. I'm all ready now. I'm just charged my laptop, and nearly could have ended very early there. So
could have ended prematurely. But we're only a few minutes away from wrapping up. But I mean, one of the final questions I have for you, Tommy, and like I say, you've had a really, really good couple of years, and 2023 in particular was probably your best year, definitely one of your highlights of your career so far, with all the matches, the stories, the opponents, and of course the championship gold that you had with that you have the Indominus Champion. But what are some of your proudest moments of your career so far, or any kind of highlights in particular that we may not have covered? But what are some of your proudest moments of your wrestling career so far? Like I say, it stretches back incredibly 11 years, but any highlights that really jump out at you?
Oh man. Damn, there's a lot of moments actually. Yeah, I think for the past couple of years, there's definitely been a lot of great moments. I think I could name a few, honestly.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there was a main event between me and Callie Gray. It was like a King of the Ring tournament for Star. It was kind of like it was in a way very poetic because even though I debuted there as a babyface, and that was like my first Tommy Lawrence appearances as a wrestler, I wasn't really getting like the reaction I wanted to because because I wasn't like a familiar face to them, and it was in Norfolk, and it was and I still had a great match there, but then like I think because they were kind of like set who they wanted to cheer, but like at the end of the match, there was some cheers there, but I think a lot of the cheering went on to Callie Gray, who was a heel at the time as well.
Bloody heels. Always get the.
I mean, but then again, so do I. But then, like, I think in that match it was kind of like a cycle, in a way, because then like it was a main event between two baby faces. At that point, two baby faces, two best mates, kind of just beating the crap out of each other. And and it kind of like, because even though I may have been defeated in that match, it was definitely one of my best performances for sure. And I could generally ask nothing more. And like I just remember, at the end of it, I got a big round of applause through everyone in that venue, just standing up and applauding for me. They can never really get better than having a standing ovation just for you. And it was kind of just a nice feeling there. And I for one, I think there's another moment as well. Like this one's a very random one, but it's a great one at that. And it was me being the sponsorship for Lucha Britannia for Domino's.
Does it get any more random than that? Tell us about that. It
doesn't get any more random, yeah. And like it was a great. It was just like it was a random role. I got a text from like Gary Vanderhorn and like the promoter of the show, and like 2 days before it happened as well. Like it was supposed to be someone else. I don't know who, but I think it was someone very similar height and like weight as well. So because they already had a costume for the Domino's thing. They already had a costume. So they called me. Did the fitting and whatnot. So they literally like invited me to this meeting so I can try this costume on, and like and then a day later I did like really, and it was like it got a lot of attention as well. Especially it did get a lot of attention as well because obviously Domino's being a pretty big company and Lucha Britannia coming back as well. Yeah. And like I think and I think because of that, and that kind of helped me, got me more busier with performing on these type of shows as well. And it like it was a great experience because I felt like I was going back to my roots in a way with like before pandemic. And it was kind of like very like it was very hectic, of course, because I remember getting upstairs, downstairs, because it was just constant photo shoots, and like with like some social media influencers, like some celebrities, like even though I may not have heard of them, but they were there, and it was kind of like huge. It was kind of huge as well, and so it was like, what? And I'm like underneath a mask as well. So,
you're dressed as a slice of pizza or something, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I was literally like a whole Domino's brand, like blue, red, silver, like everything. I'm literally dressed up like this in front of a lot of like these.
There better be photos out there. There better be photos. I'm gonna be searching Google in a minute.
Oh, there are, my friend. Oh, there are.
If anybody's got any photos,
right.
drop them in the comments. But
Oh,
that's
right.
hilarious. That's hilarious. Listen, Tommy, it's been a blast speaking to you for the last hour and a half. On episode 341 of Wrestling with Johners. Now, if any of my viewers, listeners, followers wants to get in touch, wants to learn more about you, wants to learn more about the Playmaker, Tommy Lawrence, where can they reach out? Where can they say hi? And where can they learn more about yourself?
Well, you can, you can follow me on Tommy Lawrence at Lawrence28 on Instagram. You can follow me on Tommy Lawrence on Facebook. I don't have Twitter, but you can also follow SCW, Supremacy Championship Wrestling, that we have just opened up. That's at UK_SCW, and you can follow like Supremacy Championship Wrestling on Instagram as well. Just SCW_UK.
Because that's a new promotion. Are you? What's your kind of role within that? Is that a promotion you're heavily involved in?
Yes, I am. I've been. It's a promotion that I've been. It's a promotion that's I've been starting up with my girlfriend, who used to be.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. Who used to be a pro wrestler herself. So her name was like Tammy Time. I think she retired like ages ago due to like mental health. I think just mental health. Just I think just a lot of stuff going on, like just with everything. That probably things I don't really want to go through.
No. But really cool that you're starting your own promotion, and I think it debuts in March. Is that right?
Yeah, March 16th. The tickets are on Eventbrite. If you search up Supremacy Championship Wrestling, they will appear up. Make sure to reserve your spot. The tickets are still available. We've got a hell of a card stacked up incoming. So we've got one match announced. That is the triple threat match between Tommy Kyle, Levi Muir, and Mark True for the SCW World Championship. So.
Well, already that that main event is going to be a ticket seller for sure. But Playmaker Tommy Lawrence, it's been awesome having you on the show. I've been had so much fun speaking to you today. But hopefully in a couple of years' time we can do a part 2. But just want to thank you so much for your time, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Honestly, it's been a wonderful time. I'm sorry for the interruptions.
It's live. It's live TV. These things happen. But no, you've been an awesome guest, and thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Honestly,
take care.
Take care.
See you soon.